A storybook land of gabled roofs and sculpted gardens where the air is fresh, the faces bright, and the sound of music in the wind. This is Austria. It isn't as though time had stopped. Rather, there's a feeling that in these alpine heights, one has escaped the worst excesses of time and change. This is Austria. In this land, its villages, its ancient towns and cities, there's an excellence in everyday living that seems set to the music of the great composers. It's life with double whipped cream. This is Austria. This is Austria on the map. It's the heart of the European landmass, the crossroads of Europe. At one time or another, the Austrian Empire claimed most of Europe. The sun never set on the Austrian Empire. Now it's a small country. But modern Austria has made its smallness its greatness. Our Austrian crossroads will carry us to Innsbruck, the site of 2 Winter Olympics. The Austrian Alps, superb all-season sports. Salzburg, the festival city of Mozart's birth. Graz, Europe's bastion against invaders from the east. Piber, where the Lippizaner stallions are bred. And Vienna, the crossroads capital. Bregenz, rising from the lakeshore, is Austria's western gateway. It's a bustling town with an international flavor. Here you can get your first taste of Austria's life with whipped cream. Crusaders approaching Austria from the west followed routes that took them to Lake Constance, the largest lake in Europe, which Austria shares with her neighbors Germany, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland. Departing lakeside Bregenz for Innsbruck, we begin penetrating the Alps. These alpine ranges rise from the brow of Central Europe like a crown, with multiplying vistas of glacial peaks and fertile valleys. Innsbruck, cradled by the Alps, stone by stone, Innsbruck must be one of the most beautiful cities on earth. In this historical capital of the Tyrol, 120,000 inhabitants move in a melding of the medieval and the Baroque. It's a city made for exploring. It grew from a fort that the ancient Romans built, guarding a bridge over the river Inn, axis of the trade routes between Italy and Germany. Hence the name Innsbruck, Inn's Bridge. The city celebrates its Roman beginnings with a dress-up parade. The Herzog Friedrichstrasse leads straight to the Alte Stadt, the Old Town. medieval Innsbruck with a frosting of Baroque. Here, shop signs still denote the proprietor's trade, craft, or wares, as in the Middle Ages when most people couldn't read. The town reached the pinnacle of its prosperity and power in the late 15th century under Maximilian I, who made Innsbruck his crown city. The city's present prosperity is evident in its fine shops, offering everything from Tyrolean dirndls and lederhosen to skiing equipment. The Goldenes Dachel is the gleaming landmark of the medieval quarter, the Golden Roof. In 1500, there was a rumor spreading that Duke Friedrich was broke, that the coffers were empty. This got the common folk to jeering, "Friedel the Penniless." To dispel the rumor, the flustered Duke tiled the roof of this alcove with 3,450 gilded copper shingles. Later, Emperor Maximilian, that last holdout of the age of chivalry, would seat himself in this royal box and, surrounded by adoring ladies, behold his knights jousting in the street below. The town's main thoroughfare is named after a ruler of a later age, Maria Theresa, the beloved dowager of the 18th century. That lady had this Roman-style arch built as a memento of her son's wedding. With the matriarch's eye for renovation, she redid the old 14th century palace in what was then up-to-date Baroque. This is the room where the royal brood gathered for breakfast. The dining room is more formal. For bigger affairs, they'd open up the Giant's Hall, 2 stories high and lined with family portraits. When Maximilian died in 1519, Innsbruck did more than mourn the emperor. He is memorialized in the court church of the Innsbruck Hofburg, his prayerful image guarded by his ancestors, knights and ladies in burnished bronze, emperors and kings holding vigil. King Arthur of the Round Table counted among them. It is the stuff of legend, but the tomb is empty. For this magnificent mausoleum was built after the mortal remains of Maximilian were interred in Wiener Neustadt, the city of his birth. Here the Alps are everywhere you look, nesting the city in a sweeping circle of peaks and playgrounds. It isn't surprising that right downtown you can catch a tram that whisks you skyward to Innsbruck's alpine backyard. Here, nature made the ideal home for winter sports. And twice Innsbruck has been selected for the International Winter Olympics. In 1964 and in 1976, when Franz Klammer had spectators gasping with his downhill run. And America's Dorothy Hamill won the world's heart as well as a gold medal. Just 3 miles from Innsbruck by bus or train is the village of Eagles, 1,000 feet above the city. A traditional alpine village with fine hotels and the lusty spirit of the mountain people. The Olympic bobsled run is here. Many who come here to ski headquarter in Eagles. In springtime, too, easily reached slopes around Innsbruck draw a host of skiers, some of them beginners. Patient instructors refer to their pupils as Skihassel, ski bunnies. Skiing began in Scandinavia as a means of overland travel, but it's Austria that has developed skiing as a sport, a skill, almost a way of life. Hintertux is just one of the superb skiing areas in the Republic. In Hintertux, there are 453 miles of trails. You need never ski the same trail twice. The epitome of Austrian skiing is at Kaprun, on a 10,506-foot mountain called Kitzsteinhorn. Skiing here is called the Great White Temple. The approach to it combines reverence with daring do. Alpine winters yield hard, and the glacial peaks never lose their snow cover. Yet summer's warmth draws tiny rivulets from the snows, which gather in freshets, forming cascades of melt-off. Krimml Falls are the highest in Europe, its torrents tumbling in 3 stages. From a height of 1,250 feet. We are on the Zugspitze in western Austria, rising higher, higher, to the heights of some of Europe's loftiest peaks. We're pursuing something as elusive as a dream, seeking the heart of 1,000 songs and poems. Still rising, still seeking, we search the glaciated rock in the cold, thin air. Just a glimpse. At last we're rewarded. That shy and precious flower, the Edelweiss. Touring Austria is always an adventure, sometimes a whoopee ride. These little Davids conquer the Goliath steeps of some of Austria's highest mountains. In transit, today's traveler can cross into Austria in the same railway carriages where continental celebrities were once pampered. The Orient Express. In the 20s and 30s, this was the glamour train of Europe, redolent of royalty and opera divas and Balkan intrigue. It's been a setting for novels, plays, and movies. The Simplon Orient Express, restored to its Art Deco splendor, made its inaugural run in 1982, offering the same luxuries, the same superb service that coddled the leisure class of a Europe that has passed into memory. The beauties of the Tyrol have long attracted visitors. The British have been taking holidays here since the 1700s. In 1906, the multimillionaire American J.P. Morgan vacationed here with attendant publicity. Ever since, numerous Americans have followed suit, particularly the sports-minded. A way to view the four valleys that nestle Mayerhofen is to ride the air currents, hang gliding. Earthbound youngsters make the trek to Mayerhofen by the thousands, from every country where the sport is practiced. Here they escape the heavy burden of gravity in weightless circling between the impaling peaks and the underbelly of the heavens. In a patch of open meadow, surrounded by mountain steeps, is Mayerhofen, a village of 3,000. Though tourism is the mainstay of its economy, the friendly hospitality of its people is genuine. Besides, it was known for wood carving long before the chairlift of tourism. To collectors of this craft, Albin Marauder is a consummate master. It may seem childlike to some, whittling away at a block of wood, but Marauder handles his tools the way a poet guides his pens. An artist, that's Albin Marauder. The passion for quality craftsmanship, that's Austrian. Austria is one of the fine crystal and glass producing nations of Europe. These craftsmen are among the finest in the world. Crystal is cut on diamond cutting wheels so as to catch and scatter the light. Etchers incise soft, fluid patterns onto the ice-hard surfaces. Painters add touches of delicate color. Glassblowing demands a keen eye, dexterity, and imagination. Austrian glass ranks with the world's finest. Another insight into this nation's commitment to excellence. Zell am See, on the shores of Lake Zell, is a lure to summer vacationers. Sailing, swimming, all the water sports, and lakeside promenades by the Grand Hotel. This area of Austria has earned the title Europa's Sport Region. It's an all-season getaway with skiing, skating, and tobogganing in winter. The year-round population is only 7,500, but there are 14,000 guest beds. There's a gliding school here. And gliding airborne, you can see for yourself why Zell is called Europe's cleanest lake. If you're motoring through Austria, there's a north-south route that was trailblazed by the Romans. With the coming of the automobile, it's been considerably improved. But have your brakes checked first. The Großglockner Road. Climbing Austria's highest mountain mass, the Großglockner Road is a triumph of engineering over the Alps. A toll road, its entire length is open throughout the summer and sometimes as late as October, depending on how much snow has fallen by then. There are superb views of the Großglockner, Austria's highest peak. You may pull over and venture to the Pasterze, Europe's oldest, most massive glacier. Eternal ice. It's a rarefied world up here, frozen into silence. Salzburg, where city life is a year-around festival. You can hardly go to Salzburg when it is not festival time. A city of almost 140,000 lies so close to the West German border that Munich is its nearest urban neighbor. Its Baroque splendor has earned it the title the Teutonic Rome. Salzburg means, roughly, the fort that Salt built. And there it is, the fortress that has guarded this rich area since the 12th century. Half a millennium before Christ, Celts were lured here by the vast salt deposits. In 40 AD, the Romans arrived. Salzburg's imposing cathedral. After St. Rupert brought Christianity to Salzburg, the Prince Archbishops of Salzburg became the most powerful churchmen in the German-speaking world. Using profits from the salt trade, they built a Baroque city that would rival Rome. The city grew to spread out on both banks of the Salzach River. Like salt, tradition endures in Salzburg. Where one might find a filling station in an American city, one finds ornate baths and drinking troughs for horses. The name most coupled with Salzburg is that of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. He was born in this house on Getreidegasse, number 9. As a small child, he was celebrated in the courts of Europe, played the piano at age 3, began composing music at age 6. By the time he was 7, he was performing brilliant public concerts. His genius is awesome. In his 35 years on Earth, he created a staggering amount of sublime music. During his lifetime, he was honored everywhere but Salzburg. Now Salzburg is making up for it. The annual Salzburg Festival, beginning at the end of July and running through August, bringing together conductors, orchestras, and soloists of world renown. The festival begins with Everyman, a medieval allegory performed in the cathedral square.
Will mein Gott von mir Abrechnung will erhalten mit dir.
Mozart's image looms everywhere. from bonbons to the pavement. In all fairness to their creator, confectioner Paul Fürst, the Mozartkugel candies have a pedigree of their own. They took a gold medal at the Paris exhibition of 1905. Almost 100 years hasn't reduced their quality or their calories. Pistachio marzipan is cuddled in nougat and then dipped into rich chocolate. Even the dipping stick hole is chocolate filled before it's a genuine Mozartkugel. For less than $1 a bite, it's the foremost candy of the Republic. Founded in 696 AD, St. Peter's is certainly one of the oldest abbeys in Europe, and its cemetery one of the most beautiful. Mozart's sister is buried here. On the right bank of the river, in the less crowded part of the city, stands Schloss Mirabell, a love palace built in 1606 for a lady named Salome Alt. Today, Salzburg newlyweds have their wedding pictures taken here. Hellbrunn Palace is a short ride from the city. It was built in the 17th century for a merry archbishop who loved playing pranks. These Baroque fantasies were designed by either a mirthful genius or a plumber gone berserk. A troupe of mechanicals performing to the rise and fall of water pressure. The bishop's best prank is dousing an unwary visitor from concealed spouts. Of course, the bishop would be bone dry, holding his sides with laughter. To walk this gauntlet yourself, you must take a guided tour. But then, not even the tour guide knows when the next jet's about to spew. The Trapp family singers hailed from Salzburg, and a film was based on their lives that almost everyone has seen at least twice, The Sound of Music. Broadway's Rodgers and Hammerstein did more for Salzburg's fame than anyone but Mozart. There are tour buses to the film's locations. Salzkammergut, a name that today might be translated the boardroom of the salt monopoly, is host to multitudes of vacationers. But for centuries it was a forbidden territory. The area has rich deposits of that life necessity, salt. The mining of it was a government monopoly. So, the Salzkammergut was verboten to all outside of its boundaries, lest the revenue-earning commodity be smuggled out. Peasants and gentry alike were locked out and forced to pay the salt tax. In the 19th century, Emperor Franz Joseph discovered the wonders of the place and opened it up to the public. He had built a place to stay while he vacationed here, the Kaiser Villa. An unhappy event marks the place. It was here that Franz Joseph signed the declaration that thrust Austria into the First World War. The fate of the empire was weighing on his shoulders, and they bent. The emperor had been lured to the Salzkammergut by the curative waters of this lovely spa. And overnight, Bad Ischl became the place to summer for the aristocracy. Today, Bad Ischl is one of the best equipped spas in Austria. Its gardens are superb. Throughout their lives, most Austrians are devoted to the game of chess. A match may be strictly private or public, with oversized chessmen. Well, What are a people to do who at one time ruled half of Christendom? Also in the Salzkammergut is Lake Hallstatt and the village that takes its name from it. It's a picture book village, Hallstatt. Like all Austrians, through the long lessons of history, these villagers have learned to be kind to each other and to strangers. Hallstatt is the oldest community in Austria, probably one of the oldest in Europe. So many ancient Celtic relics have been dug up here that the age which produced them has come to be known as the Hallstatt epoch, and the quaint customs and charming festivals of these villagers are rooted in Celtic rituals of prehistory. Dipping into the forests and valleys of the countryside, we're more aware of the villagers, whose lives flow in easy harmony with the round of changing seasons. Austria has an abundance of fertile valleys and rich meadows with an inexhaustible wealth of natural beauty. Austrian communities are set firmly in a bedrock of tradition, especially in the agricultural areas. Summer is the time when farmers work the hardest. Here, farm families love the soil they work. 2/3 of Austria is covered by Alps, and the population density is high, 250 people to a square mile. Every little plot of soil is under cultivation. Harvests are bountiful, as appealing to the eye as they are nutritious in the end results. The hearty fare that Austria is known for. Wurst, that plump monosyllable that in German means sausage. Wiener Schnitzel, excellent cheese. Goulash and goulash soup that are so tasty you can hardly wait till the next time. Bread that truly qualifies as the staff of life. The most irresistible pastries on earth, not excluding the strudel. In Austria, pastries are bought only in pastry shops, and bread only at bakeries. They're rarely sold under the same roof. For centuries, Styria was a bastion against invading Muslim Turks, defending faith and families from castle citadels. Understandably, the Styrian capital was an arsenal. But today, the city of Graz is a trusting, friendly place. A university city, it's world famous as a research center. 6 Nobel Prize winners came from Graz or worked here. The population is only 250,000, but it seems bigger. Old Town, still teeming with inhabitants, is a stroll on cobblestone through another age. Yet architectural styles reflect the span of time since Graz earned its status as a town in the 13th century. This staircase leads up to the old battlements and a view of this city on the banks of the river Mur. All that remains of the fortifications is this tower. During the Napoleonic Wars, these tough Styrians were finally beaten. The victorious French were about to destroy this tower. It was so loved by the citizens that they collected 3,000 guilders and ransomed it. In eastern Styria, amid dense forest, rife with wild ibex and mouflon, stands Herbuschstein, a fairy tale castle perched on a mountain height. It goes back to the 13th century. The house of Herbuschstein still holds the castle, and the family lives there. Those stallions that are taken on global tours of Spanish riding school exhibitions have been bred at Piber in Styria since the end of World War I. They're famous with followings the world over, the Lippizaners. In 1580, Archduke Karl of Styria established the stud farm at Lippiza near Trieste in what is now Italy. Stallions were brought from Arabia and mares from Spain. After the First World War, Austria lost Lippiza. Studs and mares were respectfully transported to this farm in Styria. Most are pure white, but some are a speckled gray. But the foals are born black. This foal is just 4 hours old, but was standing within an hour after birth. In 2 to 5 years, the coat gradually changes to white. Soon, the grooming will begin, and lengthy course of training before going to Vienna. Proudly deporting themselves as the noble breed they are, they will perform as wordless ambassadors of the Austrian Republic. It's summer, and touring by riverboat is lovely. Passau to Vienna is a 2-day trip. Cruising past terraced vineyards and storybook castles, villages clustered around a church or abbey, their roads steeply winding to the riverbank. The River Danube flows across the northern reaches of Austria from west to east, and streaming with it is the lore and legend of the life flow of the land. There stands Dürnstein Castle, where Richard the Lion-Hearted, King of England, was held prisoner for 13 months until a ransom was paid. Today, the town of Dürnstein is much the same as it was when Richard glimpsed it through a chink in his fortress prison wall. The timeless Danube flows gently to the doorstep of Vienna. Wien. Austria's capital is a 156 square mile melding of a mellowed past and a future-oriented present. With 1.5 million inhabitants, it claims 20% of the republic's total population. Belvedere Palace is a dazzling example of the Baroque, perhaps the most beautiful palace in all of Europe. It was built for Prince Eugene of Savoy, a genius of a fighting general who helped repel the Ottoman Turks that besieged the city in 1683. From the gardens, there's a fine view of the old, very old city. Vienna is sectioned into 23 districts. This is District Number 1. Throughout the Middle Ages, and for centuries afterwards, District 1 was all of Vienna. It was walled in by fortifications. Then, as now, Stephansdom, St. Stephen's Cathedral, was the city's heartbeat. Its beginnings dating from the 12th century, the landmark Alter Steffel, Old Steve. Its 450-foot tower is a source of civic pride for Vienna and the ecclesiastical focal point for all Austria. The early church fathers, Gregory, Ambrose, Augustine, and Jerome, are sculpted into this 16th century pulpit by Anton Pilgram. Air raids during World War II took their toll on St. Stephen's. Stone by stone, the cathedral was repaired not only by the Viennese, but with the help and contributions from every corner of the land. With the same grit and determination, Austria was rebuilt as the nation we know today. Carriage rides throughout the city began here, the cathedral courtyard. These cabbies, called fiacre here, have been operating since 1670. Through a labyrinth of ancient streets and passageways, the horses quivering with the high spirits of the city. A stop, perhaps, at one of the elegant shops for which the Königstrasse is known. The Opera Ring and the Staatsoper, one of the greatest of grand opera houses. Though a typical Viennese tends to laugh off life's most outrageous foibles, music is taken seriously. Arriving at the annual opera ball, sumptuous gowns, white ties and tails, an affair where a gentleman greets his date with "Küsst Hand, Fräulein," "I kiss your hand, my lady," a gallant custom also taken seriously by the Viennese. Vienna has always been a mecca for musical genius. Franz Joseph Haydn, warmly referred to as Papa Haydn, the 18th century patriarch of a Viennese family of composers spanning hundreds of years. Mozart of Salzburg came to Vienna as a court composer. Beethoven, a Rhinelander, who lived at so many addresses in the old city that one hesitates to ask, where's Beethoven's house? Franz Schubert, to whom Beethoven attributed a divine fire, was born in Vienna. Franz Lehár of Hungary. Gustav Mahler of Bohemia, who was a conductor at this opera house. Richard Strauss of Bavaria, and of course, the morning, noon, and night Viennese, Johann Strauss. Music is inescapable, as though the air one breathes in Vienna were of a different chemical composition, 1 part oxygen to 2 parts melody. Even the famous flea market is musical. A colossal backyard sale, where smiles are traded between strangers. It's a bargain hunt for the practical and the preposterous, to the music of a one-man band. This is one of those great cities where it is still a pleasure to walk and explore. There's a surprise around every corner. When your feet ache, opt for a window seat on one of the tidy red streetcars. Vienna fills the eye as well as the ear. Karlskirche, a Baroque masterpiece of a church dedicated to St. Charles Borromeo, the fulfillment of an emperor's vow on surviving the plague of 1713. When the eye is filled, but the stomach empty, there's lunching at any number of cafes and restaurants where culinary blessings are counted before calories. Then a sweet-tooth pilgrimage to Demels, former pastry chefs to the imperial family. Now it becomes clear why everyday living in Vienna is life with double whipped cream. Vienna is haunted by the bigger-than-life ghosts of its imperial past. This city has always been a hub, with spokes joining Western and Eastern Europe. As Count Metternich, the 19th century statesman, once exclaimed, "The Orient stops at Vienna." This is the Hofburg, a city within a city, the bastion of the ruling Habsburg family. Grasping the scepter in 1278, the Habsburgs ruled for 640 years, hatching 20 emperors. As rulers, they chose diplomacy over troop deployment, the minuet to the goose step, breeding for more empire, not battling for it. Just a glimpse at the crown jewels in the Hofburg treasury gives a clue to the scope and splendor of the empire. The famed Vienna Boys Choir has been conquering through the heart for several centuries. This most celebrated boys' choir on earth can be heard most every Sunday morning at the Hofburg Chapel. Today's imperial cavalry is Viennese crafted at the second oldest porcelain shop in Europe. But it comes to life again at the Spanish riding school with 60 Lippizaner stallions performing the intricate steps of haute école horsemanship, established here 2 centuries ago. In an ambiance of sweet hay and damp leather, they breathe music. There's a rumor whispered that every Viennese male wants to sing in the boys' choir and then grow up to ride a Lippizaner. Much of the imperial collection of paintings can be seen in the Museum of Fine Art. Raphael and Rubens, Titian and Tintoretto, Hals and Albrecht Dürer. It holds the world's largest collection of Bruegels under one roof. Today, in tidy apartments, women like Maria keep alive the Baroque passion for petit point. The work is painstaking, but again, the Austrian dedication to craftsmanship, 60 stitches to the inch. An evening clutch like this one can fetch thousands in US dollars. This masterpiece measures 140 stitches to the inch. Schönbrunn was the favorite residence of the Habsburgs since its building between 1695 and 1749. The palace is high Baroque. A woman is the most outstanding of the long line of Habsburg rulers, the Empress Maria Theresa, who has been called the most human of the Habsburgs. She lived in Schönbrunn. In the mid-19th century, ruling the empire fell to Franz Joseph. He was born in Schönbrunn, and he died here. He was only 18 when he took the throne in 1848, and he reigned over 20 different nationalities for 68 years. The Habsburg family marked their reign with the usual events, from royal births to royal deaths. But the times were changing drastically, and events outside were foreboding the doom of the Habsburgs. Franz Joseph died here in Schönbrunn before the United States of America entered the Great War. On Armistice Day 1918, Austria became a republic, a small republic indeed. But the dismembered empire did not go unmourned. These are the quarters of Sigmund Freud, the Viennese who revolutionized human psychology. There are visitors who come here as though to a shrine. Of the dismembered empire, Freud wrote, Austria-Hungary, is no more. I do not want to live anywhere else. Today, Vienna gleams anew as an international crossroads, as the world's third UN headquarters, in Donau Park on the banks of the Danube. Today's Viennese have orchestrated their past, present, and future into a harmony unique in all of Europe. Full-dress balls still tumble over the calendar as in Habsburg times. The many balls of Fasching, the physician's ball, the chimney sweep's ball, the masked ball. And the dancing isn't always to Johann Strauss. Dining and cuisine have the same old elegance. With a rush for seats at 3 opera houses and 31 concert halls, Vienna is still the capital of music. A day after the night out, the performances may be critiqued to shreds in that most venerable of Viennese institutions, the coffee house. In 1683, the Ottoman Turks failed to take Vienna by force of arms, but the Viennese were conquered by the coffee beans that the Turks left behind. There are close to 2,000 coffee houses in the city, steeped in 3 centuries of tradition. You're never hurried here. Catch up on letter writing or postcards. Some furnish billiard tables. It's an oasis for solitude, for friends, for visitors. And the welcome mat is always out. In 1828, Ignaz Bösendorfer began crafting the Bösendorfer pianos that have made the name a hallmark of quality. By 1845, he had won a trove of gold medals, earning him an appointment as piano maker to the imperial court. Today, the Bösendorfer Grand sets the standard for piano manufacture throughout the world. Its quicksilver reactions, its profound bass, the tonal brilliance of its keyboard are unequaled. Johann Strauss, warmly nicknamed Shawnee by the Viennese, composed the world's best-loved waltzes on his Bösendorfer. This is the room where he worked. Above all other composers, Johann Strauss provides the world with a common musical meeting ground. His Blue Danube Waltz and Tales of the Vienna Woods are the anthems of Vienna. About 15 minutes from the heart of the old city, the Wienerwald begins, the Vienna Woods. In all, several hundred square miles of rolling hills and forest crisscrossed by native deer and paths for strolling. It's a haven for nature lovers and just lovers. Beethoven used to wander through these woods. Once he got lost. The police came across him and demanded his name. Van Beethoven, Ludwig. For impersonating a great composer, he was hauled off to jail, where he languished for 3 days before convincing identification was established. Vienna is patchworked with parks. The Prater, the most popular. This giant Ferris wheel is the Prater's emblem, the most famous Ferris wheel in the world. It's also the world's slowest, turning at the speed of 2.5 feet per second. It was constructed at the end of the last century. 430 tons of iron, reaching a height of 212 feet. Nestled in the city's outskirts are sleepy hamlets with vineyards. Here, when a house or tavern displays fir twigs in a bunch, it signifies that the Heurige, the year's new wine, is ready for sampling. It's then that wine lovers flock to villages with names such as Nussdorf and Grinzing and sundry others to enjoy Heurigen. Autumn winds croon a finale to summer. The elk seek lower ground for grazing. A quiet settles over family farms. Towns take on a warmer, cozier look, with ricks of firewood stacked neatly under the eaves. Any construction being done must be finished before the first snows. Here, there's an alpine style that's adhered to for both homes and structures housing businesses. For their form and function, balconies are usually a part of the design, and harmony with the alpine landscape is paramount. This building with, not against nature, has a long history. It's hard to tell the difference between this contemporary home and this one, built in 1723. Winter arrives, dressing the land in white. But Austrians don't hibernate. Getting ready for Christmas, their arms are open to the wonders of the coming cold months. Austria has given a treasured Christmas gift to everyone in the world who seeks joy in that winter solstice holiday. It was the year 1818. The organ had broken down in the village church at Oberndorf, just outside of Salzburg. There would be no music for the Christmas Mass. So the parish priest, Father Josef Mohr, and a musician friend named Franz Gruber put their heads together. Father Mohr wrote some lyrics, and Herr Gruber set them to a melody he wrote and arranged them for 2 male vocalists and solo guitar. This is the way this song sounded when it ushered in Christmas for the first time. This is Austria, a land for all seasons. This is Austria, all the greatness of its cities, all the splendor of its natural setting, the day-by-day celebration of its glorious past, all the warmth of its people. This is Austria.